What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Light and a Lamp podcast. I am here with Tim,
Yo, your host with the most.
the hostest with the mostest, and our friend Joe should be joining us at some point. He's going to pop in for a little bit and then hop back out. But today's topic is we're just going to talk about what current players on the various teams in the NHL either are or could be one day Hall of Famers. And this has kind of been something that's been coming up in our friend group just because the last class was very interesting, and there are some guys that we felt are still not in the Hall of Fame that probably should be. Guys maybe like Pierre Turgeon or Alexander McGillney. So we really started talking about like what makes a Hall of Famer, like really what is the criteria, and it just kind of spiraled on from there. So before we jump into the players who we think might be Hall of Famers, I have two questions for you. Just to start, like what in your mind makes somebody a Hall of Famer versus just a Hall of Very Good kind of player?
Probably accolades really sell it. Recognition.
So you mean like awards and records?
Yeah, for the most part, that's like the easiest way to tell. Because, in my opinion, the Hall of Fame's oversaturated as it is. So, you really, I think that they should really start to limit it even more, especially with all the great talent that we've seen over the decades.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be really interesting when some of the guys that not to spoiler alert, but guys like Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin obviously are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. But there's a lot of other guys that are currently playing that are going to make very good cases for, if not first ballot, then at some point being in the Hall of Fame. So I have a feeling that we're probably going to see a lot of players from our generation specifically maybe not going on that first ballot when we're like, wow, they really should be first ballot Hall of Famers. But and then the second question I have for you is kind of a little bit off topic, sort of, not really. Do you think that goalie coaches should start to be considered for the Hall of Fame, along with like obviously the builders category, like head coaches and general managers?
Yeah, I don't see why not. If they're innovating the game or, doing really great things with players, then I don't see why not.
So you think like guys like Benoit Allaire and like Mitch Korn, you think should be Hall of Fame eligible?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like they let just about everyone else in. Why can't we let someone who actually does something in?
Yeah, I have a very similar feeling. Especially when it comes to guys like the two that I just mentioned, Benny Allaire and Mitch Korn. Benoit Allaire, obviously longtime goalie coach for the New York Rangers, gets a lot of the credit for Henrik Lundqvist's development, and Mitch Korn being just one of the most well-known goalie coaches in the NHL, has put out several not several Hall of Famers, but several Vezina caliber goaltenders, including working with guys like Braden Holtby. Last year, he worked with Robin Lehner. I think that they're a super integral part of a team. They can be a difference maker. If you look at the difference between, the Islanders goalies, specifically Thomas Greiss, because he was there before Mitch Korn and after, it was a world of difference. I mean, obviously, a lot of the credit also goes to Barry Trotz and his defense, but Greiss was more controlled. He was tighter. There wasn't as many holes. So that was just kind of a little off topic little thing. I think I agree that there definitely should be a space in the Hall of
It
Fame.
would be very difficult for a goalie coach to get in. So why not give them the opportunity to get in? And if they get in, then they clearly deserve it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's hard for a goalie coach to put out like Vezina winning goaltenders consistently, but guys like Benny Allaire and Mitch Korn have done it over the course of their careers, and they've turned guys' whole careers around. Um, so yeah, I agree. There's just a little weird, little offshoot. But we're just gonna talk about, I guess, the way that we wanted to structure it was either a player that is a Hall of Famer, so like a guy like Sidney Crosby who could retire tomorrow and is gonna go into the Hall of Fame, or a guy like, um, like we'll just say, for example, like maybe somebody like Connor McDavid who looks like they have Hall of Fame pedigree going for them. So I don't know how you wanted to structure this. I think you said you wanted to just kind of go down the list. So why don't you kick us off?
We can just go alphabetical, I guess, right?
So I think team 1 would probably be your Anaheim Ducks.
Yep.
So why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Sorry, I just choked on water.
Stay hydrated, kids. It's very important. It keeps you away from cramps. While Tim is dying.
Sorry.
You're
all right.
You're all right?
Yeah, we're good. All right. So from this team, I think that you have a very easy contending Hall of Famer in Ryan Miller. Just an easy grab.
Ryan Miller. So Ryan Miller, I think, off the top of my head, I'm just gonna do a quick search here. I believe he is. I think he's number 1 in American-born goaltender wins, if I'm correct. And no, he's number 2. Oh no, wait. He's number 1. He's number 1 in American-born wins.
My runner-up on this team would probably be Silverberg.
Jakob Silverberg instead of Ryan Getzlaf?
Yeah. Ryan Getzlaf's a plug. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably Getzlaf. You're right. But he's so unclutch. It's like the least clutch player. Like, come on. Like, I choked away so many. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's move on.
So Ryan Miller has a Vezina Trophy to his name. He has number 1 in American-born wins. His career stats are a .262 and a .915. He has 387 wins. If we go to his playoff stats, we'll take a look at these. Playoff stats, 57 games played, 28 wins, a .252 and a .913. Yeah, I think Ryan Miller probably makes the strongest case. I mean, if you had to pick a player, it's probably Getzlaf. He has 965 points in 1,053 games, 888 penalty minutes to go along with that. Not really many awards. He has the 1 Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks, but I think between the two, you probably can make a stronger case for Ryan Miller than you would for Ryan Getzlaf. Although I think that there's something to be said for recognizing the game's more underappreciated players. Like, sure, Getzlaf, he consistently was a 30 to 40, or not 30 to 40, but he was like a 20 to 30 goal scorer for a long time. But he was more like a rough and tumble, nose to the grindstone type player. But I think if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably go with Ryan Miller. I think he'll get in because he holds the American win record. So I would say probably not first ballot, but I think he'll be in at some point eventually. Somebody that I do want to bring up, what do you think? Do you think that there's a potential for John Gibson at some point, if he gets off the Anaheim Ducks, to be a Hall of Fame caliber goaltender?
No, not really. I just don't think there's room for him in the league.
What do you mean by that?
I think there are people just doing it better than him. I don't think he's like, to be Hall of Fame, you really need to be a top 5 for a long amount of time, in my opinion, and I don't think he can do that.
I feel like, in my opinion, there's potential for him because he's only 26 if he gets off the team and has like a good end of his career. But I think the thing that's going to hold him back more than anything is his injury problems, because he's hurt almost every year. He has had groin problems in the past, had knee problems in the past. I think talent-wise, in my opinion, he's a top 5 goalie in the league. But it's all going to come down to whether or not he can get off Anaheim, because the only place they're going is down. they're not pulling a Chicago where they're bad for a couple of years and now they're back, pushing for a playoff spot. It's like no, like they're just the Ducks are just bad now and they just need to rebuild. But he's unfortunately stuck. So up next is a team that has, just pick and choose who you want from this team to be in the Hall of Fame. The Boston Bruins.
It's not alphabetical, Rob.
It's not. Anaheim.
Forgot over the Arizona Coyotes.
What? Oh, I did skip over the Coyotes. My bad. Sorry, Arizona. And I actually like the Coyotes this year, so that's actually not cool of me. Sorry, Arizona. Yeah, the Arizona Coyotes.
Think there's a clear-cut guy going, so I think that it comes down to who do we think might get there.
Yeah, I think if you're going to pick a name on the Arizona Coyotes...
OEL.
What you should say, Phil the Thrill?
Oh, yeah. I guess I forgot that he's on that team. All right, yeah, never mind. It's Hot Dog Man.
Do you think he's a Hall of Famer, though?
Maybe.
Because...
Nah. I don't think he has a point per game.
He's 861 points in 1,066 games. He's probably going to be an over 400 goal scorer for his career by the time he's retired. Maybe if he can find his groove again, because he had an awful season this year, 14 goals. Maybe if he can find a groove, he can hit 500, but it's looking like 400 plus is going to be his cap.
He's got 2 years left of possibly being a good player. If these last 2 years he can pop off, or if he can really show up in the playoffs for Arizona, then I think he can do it.
Let's see. His highest goal total was 37. He's had 37, 37, 36 in Toronto. And then since he's left Toronto, 26, 23, 34, 27, 14. Yeah, I just don't see it for our boy Phil the Thrill. It's just not like he doesn't have a Richard Trophy to his name. He's really never even close. Like,
I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson has the best chance.
He was gonna be the guy. I said if you're not picking Phil Kessel, Ekman-Larsson is probably the next closest guy on that team. And even still, I think he again lands in just the Hall of Very Good.
Hall of Very Good didn't get a good enough team.
Yeah, he's 30 points his second season in the league, 44 points, 43, 53, 39, 42, 44. It's like he's consistently putting up 40 to 50 points a year, which is solid for a defenseman. But
I think that's enough about that.
Solid does not get you in the Hall of Fame.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson's a pick for Arizona. Moving on to a really interesting team.
The Backstrom Bruins. So, let's just get some of the big names out of the way. Zdeno Chara, is he going to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
What about Brad Marchand?
See, now this is an interesting question. I don't know. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Depends what year he retires.
I gotta be honest with you. Outside of Zdeno Chara, the player on this team I feel best about going to the Hall of Fame is Patrice Bergeron.
Oh, yeah.
Bergeron has, 4 Selke trophies? 4 Selke trophies and a King Clancy trophy, and he's got 869 points in 1,089 games. So not only is he incredibly reliable in his own end, but he's almost a point every 8 out of 10 games.
The answer was without a doubt him. And then
I don't think
maybe Rask goes depending on what year he retires.
I was gonna say I don't think Krejci has enough juice in the tank to make a push for it. He's already 34.
No.
I feel like if Rask can win a Stanley Cup being a starter, then he's pretty much a lock. But
Yeah.
until he gets over that hump, I don't think he gets in. Because that'll be his legacy, where he won the Stanley Cup as a backup with Tim Thomas, and then they went twice and he lost both times. And I think that's what will ultimately be his legacy if he doesn't win a Stanley Cup on his own.
I think Marchand will have a better chance of getting than Pasto ever will.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think David Pastrnak has a better chance? I mean, he goes through 48 goals this year.
I don't think the Bruins will be as dominant of the team as they were with Marchand for as long.
I see you're saying it's just a timing issue, where like Marchand played on a really good Bruins team, and Pasternak's going to be playing on like a mediocre rebuilding team.
They've got maybe another season or two of like being really good, and then all of their young and like rookie contracts are just going to run out, and they're going to say, "Oh, where'd the money go?"
I don't know. Marchand's an interesting case. He's got 646 points in 751 games. He got 100 points last year, 87 points this year, 85 and 85 in 2016 to 2018. Like, he's really come on in these last 4 years for the Boston Bruins.
That's what I'm saying. He's really been a really driving force of this team. Rat Boy's fucking good, and he's been doing it for a while.
I don't know. I feel like he's going to be borderline.
Got the highlights. He has all the important goals. He's done it all.
I think his lack of individual achievement and ultimately also the Boston Bruins' lack of team achievement is going to hurt his case. Because, like, Patrice Bergeron has that standout thing where he's, like, a 60% face-off guy. And his career face-off percentage is 57.2. He's got 4 Selke trophies to his name. I mean, he's one of the best two-way forwards that's ever played in the NHL. Whereas Brad Marchand is like, he's good, don't get me wrong. Especially these last 4 years, he's really hit his stride. But I don't know if it's enough to really put him over the edge. That's he's a tough one. I would say strong maybe. Strong maybe for Brad Marchand. I'm not very confident in saying that he's guaranteed to go in. Do you see any possible way that Chara doesn't make the Hall of Fame, or do you think he's a lock?
Okay, so
is the Instigators with Andrew Peters and Greg Rebecca.
Patrick Kane, Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, Jonathan Toews, and Duncan Keith all retire in the same year, and then the next year, you have Patrice Bergeron, goddamn, I don't even know, Voracek, Giroux, Malkin, and Eric Stahl all retire the next year. Maybe he doesn't make it then. Maybe.
There are some names in there that I think we're going to talk about.
If you have like 6 years or like however long it needs to be of like him being valid, if you have like every superstar in the league currently retire in those years, maybe he doesn't make it. Maybe. Otherwise,
yeah. I mean, he's another one of those weird players where he doesn't really have like the superstar accolades. Like, he only has 1 Norris Trophy to his name. So he's never like lighting a league on fire or anything. He obviously doesn't really have the offensive numbers, but just from in terms of just like who he is, like he was and is the Boston Bruins for a very, very long time. And just his reliability in his own end, I think will ultimately put him in the Hall of Fame. And rightfully so, in my opinion. So up next, do we have the Buffalo Jack Eichels?
Yeah, I think that's really all you need to say. Let's move on.
Do you think he'll be a Hall of Famer?
I don't know, but no one else on that team's ever going to even make the Hall of Very Good, so let's move on.
Well, I think some of them can make the Hall of Very Good, but...
All right, maybe the Hall of Very Good, but, you know.
Calgary. Calgary Flames.
I think this one's kind of easy, isn't it?
I mean, obviously you're talking about, Milan
Giordano.
Lucic, right? No, fuck Lucic.
It's got to be Giordano.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 483 points in 893 games. He has a Norris Trophy to his name.
He is the Calgary Flames.
I think for me, he's kind of like, if he retires in the right year, he'll get in. But there are other players I think that I would definitely put ahead of him. That because he doesn't really have, like,
I don't know. I'm pretty sure his numbers are solid enough throughout his whole career as a defenseman that he could do it.
Like, he's had a really late career renaissance where... Well, I wouldn't even say a renaissance. Like, he had 47 points in 2014, 48, 56, 39, 38, and then he exploded last year with 74, and then this year he's back down to 31. Like, he's kind of been, like,
As a defenseman, 31 points is really solid. He probably would have finished with around 40, let's say.
Yeah, he's definitely not a bad season. I'm just not... It's hard to say. Because, like, again, you go back to a guy like Zdeno Chara, like, who only has the one James Norris as well, right? He didn't really light the league on fire yet. Or not light the league on fire, but, like, he's never, like...
I'm just saying, I don't think anyone else on this roster is arguable.
I think if we give him enough time over the course of his career, I think Matthew Tkachuk could do it. But, I mean, he's 22, so it's like he's still got another 10-plus years to play it out.
That's fair, but I wasn't talking about I meant, like, he's a guy who retires now and probably gets in. If we're talking about a guy in the future, it's probably Chuck.
I'm gonna put him, in my opinion, I'm gonna put him in the same category as Marchand, which is a solid maybe. Like, I'm not doubting it. If he gets in, I'm not gonna be surprised. But at the same token, if he doesn't get in, I'm also gonna be equally just, like, not as surprised. So, Carolina, some interesting names on here. Some of the old guard, like you mentioned, one of the Stahl brothers, obviously not playing Carolina, but
yeah, but I think this one's also a pretty easy. I think it's just got to be Justin Williams.
Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7. So you're not putting Brady Shea in the Hall of Fame yet?
I'll check in with Jeremy and then I'll get back to you.
So Justin Williams has 797 points in 1,264 games played. Let's check his playoff numbers because that's really what he's known for. He has 101 points in 155 games. He has a Conn Smythe Trophy to his name. He won a Conn Smythe in 2013-14?
Yeah, bro, guy's an animal.
I totally forgot about that. 3-time Stanley Cup champion, once with the Hurricanes, twice with the LA Kings. 2013-14, he had only 25 points in 26 games. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think if you're going to pick anybody off this roster, it's probably him, right? I mean, to be fair, most of this roster is young. Really,
if you were to Conn Smythe in general, you probably have a very fair argument to make, ignoring the whole rest of your career.
Well, especially if you're winning a Conn Smythe when you're beating guys like Jonathan Quick for that Conn Smythe. Who arguably Jonathan Quick was like the team for a very long time in LA. Yeah, I totally forgot that he won a Conn Smythe that year. Yeah, no, I think Justin Williams is definitely a Hall of Famer. I think just from his legacy of Mr. Game 7, you know, you have that moniker, you just have that, like, that thing that follows you, just that clutch factor. Yeah. Totally forgot that he won a Conn Smythe, but I'm willing to go there with you. I think that 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 1-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Now, do you think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, or do you think he's like a second or third ballot kind of guy?
He's probably first ballot. Like I said, Conn Smythe is quite the feat to win.
I think he gets, if he doesn't get in first ballot, he's definitely a second ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think he waits too long. I'm not seeing too many years go by.
How many rings does Jordan Staal have? 2 or 1?
Uno ring with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I didn't know if it was 2 or 1. I couldn't remember what season he got drafted.
Yes, he has 1 ring with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he does not have any other individual accolades. He won the Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, so, and then my runner-up on this team is probably going to be maybe Van Riemsdyk.
Trevor?
Maybe. I don't know. Probably not him.
I was going to say Jacob Slavin. I feel like if Jacob Slavin plays a long enough career, like if he plays into his 35, 36, 37 years, like he pulls like a Zdeno Chara and plays late into his career, I think that he's good enough in his own zone to be a Zdeno Chara type player where he gets on just because of his pure defensive ability alone. Like he's only 5 years into his
outside
career.
Of his gimmicky little move, I think Svechnikov really could be fucking amazing, though. I think he's a big fucking just aggressive, strong center or wing.
Yeah, and he's really young too. He's still only 20, so
yeah. So I think that he could maybe do it too.
Yeah, and he really, you know, he's one of those guys where his career kind of started off a little bit slower, but
he exploded this season. Absolutely exploded.
He put up 61 points in 68 games, 24 goals this year, so
all right.
He was on pace to almost put up 30.
Next up is Chicago.
The Chicago Hall of Famers, you mean?
Yeah, I think that we should just.
So let's just get the big ones out of the way. So Patrick Kane's going to the Hall of Fame. Jonathan Toews is going to the Hall of Fame. Duncan Keith is going to the Hall of Fame. Cory Crawford, do you think he goes to the Hall of Fame or not?
Do you think Brent Seabrook goes to the Hall of Fame?
No. I really think that the back half of his career is tanking him. I
don't necessarily disagree with that.
It's kind of like the argument that people are starting to have about Jonathan Quick, where it's like he just burned really bright for a few seasons, although we'll get to that later. But I think the fact that he's at this point, like the last couple of seasons, he's just kind of been mediocre, like 26 points, 28 points. I mean, that's not bad for defensemen by any stretch. And the team around him has gotten worse, but this year he had 4 points in 32 games. I think the back half of his career is really going to hurt him. And the lack of individual awards. I mean, he's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, but no Conn Smythes, no James Norris. I don't even know if he's ever been nominated for James Norris or not. I don't know that he has that star power that somebody like Duncan Keith has. And, like, maybe he just got overshadowed by Duncan Keith.
I think he did, to be honest with you.
Which is definitely a fair argument. And you can definitely make that argument.
He did have the A patch. So
I feel like he's going to end up being a Hall of Very Good, where it's like, could he have been better if he was like the guy on a team? Like, say you take Duncan Keith off of the Chicago Blackhawks and it's just Brent Seabrook's team.
The issue is Duncan Keith really just excelled for so long. Like, his whole career, he excelled.
Yeah, I mean, he has 2 Norris trophies, a Conn Smythe trophy as a defenseman. That's a pretty hard thing to do. And 3 Stanley Cups. Like, yeah. Buddy
Right.
is a hard one to live up to. But what about Crow? What about Cory Crawford?
I think the Crow makes it dependent on who he goes up against. Bless you.
Thank you.
But otherwise, I don't really know. The thing is, he won on the coattails of very good teams in his career. So it's kind of hard to say.
His career stats are pretty good, actually. 260 wins, 2.45 goals against average, 918 save percentage.
He was the goalie that Chicago needed, without a doubt.
His playoff numbers are really good, but then again,
he wasn't like the bee's knees.
So you think that he's gonna ultimately get the Chris Osgood treatment, where it's like, yeah, he was good, but like he was playing for the early 2000s Detroit Red Wings, where it's like, yeah, Crawford was good, but like he was playing for the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks, like.
Yeah, I think he might honestly get that treatment. That's a shame, but you know what happened.
It's kind of like, you know.
So I give Crawford outside of the obvious picks, he probably gets my ballot.
Yeah, if we're ignoring Keith, Taves, and Kane, the closest guy after that's probably Cory Crawford.
And then after that, it's Seabrook, but it's irrelevant. All right. So next up is Colorado.
Nathan MacKinnon. I think I mean, all jokes aside, like I think he'll actually legitimately be a Hall of Famer when his career's done.
I think that we can just essentially say that I see him and I see Landeskog, and they're definitely going to the Hall of Fame probably.
I think especially if they seal it up and win a cup or two by the time they're, because like Landeskog's only 27 years old, and Nathan MacKinnon's only 24, so like they still got a lot of time. So if they seal it up and win like a Stanley Cup or two, or maybe even 3, and let's be honest here, if a guy by the name of Alex Ovechkin or Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby wasn't playing in the league, Nathan MacKinnon would probably be leading the league in scoring every single year. So,
yeah.
Other than that, like I kind of agree. I mean, I think Cale Makar, if you give him enough time in the NHL, could be a Hall of Famer by the end of it. But again, this is only his rookie season, so it's hard to say.
He's also small, very small guy for a defenseman.
Yeah, so the injuries could play a role.
And like he's kind of just based off his like offensive ability. So if the offense on that team tanks, you know, so does him essentially.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys in the Hall of Fame that were like look, nobody's ever gonna pretend, and this is not to say he was a bad player, but nobody's pretending Bobby Orr was winning James Norris trophies for his defensive play. He was just the best offensive defenseman arguably to ever play the game. So there's room for those offensive defensemen that are maybe kind of questionable in their own end, but again, it's hard to tell. It's his rookie season, so like, how much do you really want from the guy, you know? Columbus. Some good defensemen on Columbus Blue Jackets. Do you feel good about any of them?
It's hard because there's a lot of guys who've had really just decent careers on that team.
Just the Hall of Very Good.
Honestly,
the team of Very Good.
This is the team of Very Good. Honestly, I don't really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I think your best argument is Zach Werenski or Seth Jones. And, like, they would both either need to get traded or the team would need to get really good.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Is like, and it's kind of like an unintended consequence of the way that John Tortorella has this team playing, where you're not seeing like the super nasty highlight reel type goals that we know that both those guys are, you know, able to make, but because they bought into the system for the better of the team, ultimately that kind of holds their names back from the public eye as much. So yeah, I think those two guys are probably your best bet, but I don't really feel great about either one of them. Like,
I don't really think much to say about that team, honestly. I didn't realize how.
they're just a hardworking blue collar team, and like,
I didn't realize just how very good that, how just good that team was.
yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a hardworking blue collar hockey team if you're winning games, but it's not like, you know, you're not pumping out Hall of Famers that way. But
See, the next team that we have to talk about is very interesting.
the Stars,
Yeah. Because you have Ben Bishop on the team. You have someone like Joe Pavelski. You got the boy, Jamie. Does Jamie Benn make it in? Does the kid Tyler make it in? You know?
it's really hard because I think if Ben Bishop probably has at this point the strongest case, but his career like took off so late. Like he wasn't a full time starter until his second year in Tampa Bay, and he's already 33 years old, and he's only played. I say only, but he's played 413 games in the NHL, and his stats are very good. His career goals against is 2.32 and a 9.21, fantastic numbers. Um, he doesn't have any individual awards to his name. I think if Ben Bishop wins a Stanley Cup by the time he's retired, I think he's a third or fourth ballot Hall of Famer type player. I don't think he can really, unless he crushes the last 3 or 4 solid years of his career, because they're 33, unless he crushes it and gets like 2 Vezinas and a Conn Smythe trophy, I think he's going to be waiting a couple ballots to get in. Without a Stanley Cup, I think he just lands outside. I think he's just a good big type goaltender.
Good and big. Yeah.
And I kind of feel the same way about Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, and I absolutely love Jamie Benn.
I think Tyler Seguin has the better case also. Having played with that Boston Bruins team.
Jamie Benn did win the Art Ross in 2015, though.
Does Seguin have an accolade?
Individual award, no. Jamie Benn won the Art Ross by putting up 87 points, 35 goals, 52 assists. Tyler Seguin's
I do remember when he did that, actually, too.
Tyler Seguin's only award is Stanley Cup. Sorry, what were you saying?
Didn't he do that against JT?
Miller?
No. Wasn't he against Tavares?
Tavares? Let's see. I will look it up.
I think he was. Oh, yeah, bro, I'm fucking blind. I mean, we kind of forgot about Corey Perry also.
I mean, Corey Perry has the Hart Trophy to his name for sure. And
if you want to talk about the guy, a solid long career though.
Let's see. Yeah, Jamie Benn beat John Tavares by 1 point.
Yeah, I remember when he did that.
Cry every time.
Yeah, no, I think that the fairest case though is probably Ben Bishop, and then maybe Tyler Seguin is a close second.
Well, Corey Perry has a Richard Trophy, has a Hart Trophy, has a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. I think Corey Perry's there. I think Corey Perry makes the Hall of Fame. I don't see why not. If he can maybe 35, right? Something like that, 35, 36.
Yeah, he's 35.
So if he can land somewhere and maybe make a good playoff run, put up some good points, maybe even make it to a finals or win a cup, then I think I think he could first ballot it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think right now, I'm gonna.
I think
put
right
him
now
in,
he's
like,
second, maybe third.
Yeah,
But I think if he one more good run where he makes a big contribution, and he's in.
yeah, I agree. I think at the moment, like you said, maybe leaning towards second or third, but yeah, I feel like a lot of these Dallas Stars outside of Corey Perry, who I think will be in the Hall of Fame, are like they're teetering on the edge, and they just need that one thing. Like if this team wins the Stanley Cup and like Jamie Benn gets a Conn Smythe trophy, I think he gets in. I think Tyler Seguin probably gets in at that point. Ben Bishop probably gets in at that point, but as it stands, like they're teetering on that edge. But they have some time because, I mean, Ben's only 30. Tyler Seguin's only 28. Ben Bishop's kind of running out of time. But, you know, I feel like a lot of those guys are, like, just so close. Oh, boy. You know who's up next? The best team in the NHL.
Who's that? The Red Wings?
The team that got completely screwed this year, by the way. The Detroit Red Wings.
The Detroit not-so-red Red Wings.
The Detroit, like, please, for the love of
Covered
God.
in red from blood Red Wings.
Why didn't we get the first overall pick, please?
Uh,
I don't really think anybody on this list is even close at this point. I mean, I think, like, Dylan Larkin, like, could do it. I think Mantha could do it. Given enough time, Larkin and Mantha could probably make it in. But, like, as it stands, I mean, it's just unfortunate because it's, like, it's just a team that's rebuilding, right? But, most of this team is just I mean, actually,
you don't give it to the Islanders superstar?
Franz Nielsen. I love Franzi, but I was going to say, you could probably make a case if you really wanted to for Darren Helm, but again, he's always been like that third line, like, speedy penalty kill type player. I don't know. If there was a Hall of Fame for shootouts, Franz Nielsen would be in it, but I feel like most of the Red Wings, and again, it's not their fault, but they're just, like, bad right now.
Yeah, I really just don't think there's much more to say about that. They're just kind of...
Up next, the Edmonton Connor McDavids.
All right, so if we are going to ignore the three players that matter on that team, being, Draisaitl, McNasty, and Hopkins, we have an argument. We have a discussion at hand now.
You think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a Hall of Famer?
No, but like those are just the only three players on that team that matter.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. So I guess if you want to make the argument that maybe he could do it, but then again, I think you actually make a really good argument about James Neal making the Hall of Fame.
James the Real Deal Neal.
I think James Neal's your best argument outside of
McDavid and Draisaitl.
McDavid and Draisaitl, but I don't even think Draisaitl makes the Hall of Fame as it stands. I think McDavid just might be able to do it because I think he's just going to, the rest of his career is almost solidified as phenomenal unless he gets hurt.
I mean,
injury is the only thing that I see ruining his career.
Draisaitl has 422 points in 422 games. And he's already got an Art Ross trophy.
Yeah, but that's not enough that's not really enough to make it as it stands.
No, if he retired tomorrow, no, he wouldn't get in. But
and that's what I'm saying. Like, Draisaitl makes the really good case to
over time, yeah.
Yeah. But like he needs an accolade. He needs maybe a couple more accolades or some playoff wins. But yeah, it's probably James Neal.
James Neal never won a Stanley Cup? Oh, that's right. He went to Pittsburgh in 2010 and then left in 2014. Yeah. Big yikes. I guess if you had to make a case for anybody, it would be him, but like, I don't really think he gets in.
I don't think he does either.
Yeah.
But if he wins a cup somewhere, he gets it. if he could have won that cup with Vegas, he would have gotten it. Because that was kind of, not that it was his team, but like he was the name on that team.
Yeah, I mean, James Neal's had some bad luck with injuries for sure. Like in 2014, he had 27 goals in 59 games played. It's like he was probably going to hit like 35, 40. He had a 40-goal season with the Penguins. 25-goal season here and there. I think he's just been too inconsistent is the thing. Like, he's just not like Ovechkin, who every year is like 40 to 50, 40 to 50, 50 plus, 50 plus. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers obviously have a lot of, like, future Hall of Famers potentially, but as far as it stands, you know.
The Florida Pussycat.
The Florida Sergei Bobrovsky is eating up $10 million of our cap.
The Florida Kitty Litters.
I think the best argument out of anybody here is probably Bobrovsky if he gets his career back on track. I mean, he's the only two-time Vezina winning goaltender in the NHL at the moment.
Yeah, so okay. We can pretty much end the conversation there. Move on to the next team.
I mean, I will say if he retires now, today, he probably doesn't get in.
I think Anton Strawman has a very strong second or third ballot case.
As like a journeyman, yeah, I can see that. Never like the focal point, but always like a solid player. He's a plus 66.
Always a good building. He's a very good building piece. Teams.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think Bob gets in right now, but if he gets his career back on track and like notches another Vezina, like he's gonna get in for sure.
Or he does a good. Maybe he makes a finals or two.
Yeah. He just needs to figure it out in Florida because, like, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Like,
I don't know.
Your favorite team from 2015, the LA Kings.
The LA suck my. All right. Is that alphabetical order?
Yep.
Huh. I feel like that's a big jump.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
From F to L. And then we have.
Okay, so do you want to get a couple names out of the way?
Well, so Jonathan Quick is probably going to the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Quick, Drew Doughty, and Kopitar just we can ignore their name.
They're just locks because like Kopitar has what? He has 2 Selkies, a Lady Bang, 2 Stanley Cups. Jonathan Quick somehow never won a Vezina trophy, and I don't understand how, but he has Conn Smythe and 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
His career goals against average is .239 with a .913 and 52 shutouts. Like, so what about the man who wore the C for the longest time? What about Dustin Brown?
No. As a fucking scum rat. And I hope he dies.
Jesus. Tell him how you really feel.
I just did. I hope he dies.
Why don't you like Dustin Brown for the Hall of Fame?
This little fucking weasel dog shit player.
What about Jeff Carter?
Jeff Carter is maybe the strongest case also. I think Jeff Carter and actually is the strongest case outside of all the big names.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any like individual awards. He has the 2 Stanley Cups with the LA Kings. Kind of like a journeyman 20 to 30 goal scorer for the most part throughout most of his career. Except for obviously these late stages where the Kings just have been like terrible. But I don't know. I feel like even though you don't like him, I feel like Dustin Brown and Jeff Carter probably have like the same chance, only just because Dustin Brown was the captain for those 2
They
Stanley
probably have
Cup
the same
games.
chance for that reason. I don't disagree with you. I just don't like I just really don't like Dustin Brown.
Drew Doughty has a James Norris to his name, 2 Stanley Cups, 502 points in 919 games. Yeah. I mean, he'll probably get in just because, like, he was the defenseman for those Stanley Cup runs. Like, I really couldn't name many other defensemen off those teams besides, like, Rob Scuderi. Like, he was the LA Kings defenseman for those cup runs. It's not like Chicago, who had Nick Leddy, Duncan Keith, and Brent Seabrook. Up next is Minnesota. Oh, boy. Salary cap hell.
It's a pretty obvious answer, honestly.
You talking about Zach Parise?
No, it's Eric Stahl.
Do you think Zach Parise is a Hall of Famer?
No. I think he could have been. If he went to an actual team. He can go to the Minnesota Wild. But it's got to be Eric Stahl.
And why do you say that?
He was the Carolina Hurricane for a decade.
You don't
like literally came onto the team, popped off, won a cup with them, led them to a cup win. Like, come on.
So Eric Stahl has his Stanley Cup in 2005, 2006. He has 1,021 points in 1,240 games played. Obviously, like you said, he was the captain of the Carolina Hurricanes for a long time. He played 20 whole games with the New York Rangers, so there's that. Yeah. I think if you're going to make an argument for anybody on this team, it's either Eric Stahl or Mikko Koivu, but I don't think Koivu has the pedigree to get in.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think Stahl has all the awards.
Well, he only has one award, but...
Or all the accolades. I think he has the cup, essentially. He has the cup that he led them to, which is really enough to say.
And over 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With 1,000+ games. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't think Zach Parise has the pedigree to get in either. He has no awards at all to his name, and, like, he kind of threw his career down the toilet when he went to Minnesota.
That's what I'm saying. It's just, it really was a shame when he did that, too. Because I thought that he was probably he was the best small guy in the league at the time. Easily.
So here's a very interesting question. Montreal Canadiens, is Carey Price a Hall of Famer?
Oh, it depends on what year he retires.
Because I think really when you look at this team, there's really only 2 people on this team at this point that
maybe 3
that have Stanley Cup pedigree, or it's not Stanley Cup, like Hall of Fame pedigree, and that would probably be Carey Price and Shea Weber, and who else are you saying? Like, you said maybe 3. Who's the maybe 3 guy? Like Carlsen maybe, but like,
no. What about the other defenseman?
Victor Mete?
No. Name.
Because they have Carl Osner, Ben Sherratt, Christian Folin, Brett Kulak, Victor Mete, Xavier Ouellet, and Jeff Petrie, and Shea
What about
Weber.
Petrie?
I feel like Petrie... I feel like he's just too, like... Not that he's not... He's a solid defenseman, but he's always been a solid top 4 option. He's never been a legitimate, like, threat on the top 2. And I think that's what's going to ultimately hold him back. I don't feel very strong about Jeff Petrie. And I got to be honest with you, like... Shea Weber has no James Norris trophies, has a Mark Messier Leadership Award. Like, I don't feel very good about Shea Weber either. I feel like specifically post-trade from Nashville is really, really hurting his legacy. I mean,
100%.
He was great this year, but...
He's just not the same Shea Weber that he was on Nashville.
No, absolutely not. I feel like the back nine is really hurting his career.
10,000%. I couldn't agree more. All right. That's probably enough on that dog shit team.
Well,
now let's move on to the other dog shit team.
The Nashville Predators.
Yeah.
So, Pekka Rinne, is he getting in?
No. Absolutely nothing. Unclutch. Unfucking. Like, not good. Blew his fucking hip out. No, it's not him. It's not him. He's not it.
He has one Vezina trophy. His career numbers 242, 917, 359 wins. These are probably more or less the numbers he's going to end up retiring with because he's 37 years old. Pull up his playoff numbers. Playoff numbers 249 and a 914. I feel like the lack of a Stanley Cup is really going to hurt him when they look at his career.
And to be honest, he didn't even deserve that Vezina.
In 2017-18?
Nope.
If you guys couldn't tell, Tim has some hard feelings about
He's dog shit.
Pekka Rinne.
He's just dog shit.
I don't know if dog shit is the right word.
Oh, no, I'm telling you, he's dog shit.
I just feel like when we look back at the career of Pekka Rinne, it's just going to be a career of, like, what if? You know, what if he had won 2 or 3 Stanley Cups? And when they look at it, they're probably just going to be like... And Stanley Cups aren't the be-all, end-all because they are 110% a team achievement.
Yeah, you don't need a Stanley Cup to win. A lot of these guys that we've been talking about don't have cups. But the thing is, like, you need to... Goaltending is just such a position relying on winning to be considered good. And if you don't win a cup, well, what'd you do?
Yeah, if he had a couple more Vezina trophies, I'd probably feel better. But as it stands, I think the lack of a cup is ultimately what's going to keep him out. And the lack of making the finals. He only made the finals once in his career. And I mean...
It's not like he clutched his team to the finals or, like... There was a lot of playoff runs. So every run that they... It's really sad, actually. Because every run that they made it deep was because of him. And then every run that they lost early was because of him.
Yeah, his playoff numbers bounce around a lot. Like a 268, 257, and then a 207, but then a 268, 263. And then the year they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, a 196 and a 930. He was lights out that year, but then the year after, a 307 and a 904. Like, he's just all over the map, you know? Yeah, I think the more and more I look at his stats, the more I'm starting to agree with you that, like, it's just the consistency wasn't there, and the pedigree and the wins and the hardware is just not where it needs to be.
He doesn't have anything going for him, is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think if they won a cup or two, he'd be in, but...
All right. Time to move on to the scumbags in red.
The New Jersey Devils?
Yep.
PK Subban.
Yeah, I mean... Subban? Like...
If he can... And I do believe...
Get off this team.
And I do believe he will, at some point, bounce back and be the PK Subban we know he can be. If he can put together another, like, James Norris or 2 seasons, I think he'll get in. Because he had really good years in Montreal. Starting in 2014, he had 53 points, 60, 51, 40, 59, 31 with Nashville last year. He was hurt. He only played 63 games. And this year, obviously, a terrible year with the New Jersey Devils. Absolutely awful. But I think if he bounces back and he starts putting up another, like, couple 50 to 60 point seasons, throws another James Norris in there, I think he can make a legitimate case for him being in the Hall of Fame.
PK, if you're listening, stay off Twitter, get in the gym.
Yeah, that dash 21 next to his name. And I mean, granted, look, when you play a lot of minutes for the New Jersey Devils, like, you're going to be a minus, but that -21 is not helping his case. Not helping his case. So we'll move on. We'll go to the Islanders next. Get to the tri-state area teams out of the way here. I mean, I don't really think a lot of any of the Islanders on the team right now are like bona fide Hall of Famers. Obviously, I think given enough time, players like Matt Barzell can make a very strong case for the Hall of Fame, especially if they get him a scorer. Because like you'll see his points go from like 60 to 70 to like 80, 90 to 100 if he's playing with somebody who can put the puck in the net. As it stands, though, like, and this isn't me shitting on my team because like I love my team, but it's like there's nobody on this team.
Didn't Boychuk play with that cup-winning Bruins?
Yeah, so Boychuk and Leddy both bring Stanley Cups to the table. Johnny Boychuk won the Stanley Cup with the Bruins. Nick Leddy is a Stanley Cup winner, one-time Stanley Cup winner with the Chicago Blackhawks. If you were going to make a case for anybody, it'd probably be Johnny Boychuk, just because of his reliability. And he's, over his career, he's a plus 123. But I still think he'll be on the outside looking in, all things considered. I think Leddy's kind of the same way. Like, Leddy's got some nice offensive numbers, but over his career, he's a -27, and it's just like, you know. I think if the Islanders go on to win a Stanley Cup or two, while Anders Lee is the captain, you might make an argument for him being like the same kind of caliber players like a Dustin Brown, where he captains his team to 2 Stanley Cups. But unless that happens, like, I don't really see anybody on the team. Again, like I said,
I'd say you're really counting your chickens there, aren't you, bud?
I don't really see anybody on the team like outside of Matt Barzell having having Hall of Fame pedigree. You know,
you jumped from maybe they'll get 1 cup to 2 cups.
Well, it's like 1 or 2. I mean, you know how I feel about this team. Like, I don't even think we're gonna win 1 with this roster, but that's a whole other story for another day. Yeah, it just, again, kind of like a Columbus Blue Jacket situation. Like, just solid players, but nobody that really like jumps out at you besides Matt Barzell. The New York Rangers. So,
if we take Hank off the list right away.
So you think he's guaranteed to get in?
Yeah, I think he's got to go in.
You think he goes in first ballot?
Yeah, I think he's a first ballot.
I think his stretch between, 2006 and excluding the year that the season was cut in half due to lockout, from 2006 to 2017, he didn't win any less than 30 games. And, like, that's ridiculous. Like, obviously now it's kind of like the back half of his career is not great. He's kind of getting pushed out of the crease, but I mean, he has the Vezina Trophy to his name, and yeah, I think he gets in. It depends on who retires with him, if he's in the first ballot or not, but he's definitely no more than a second ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, obviously, like, doesn't have the Stanley Cup to his name, but can't really blame him for that. He was the New York Rangers for like the longest time. Is there anybody else you see like that's on the team right now that's like, if they retire tomorrow, they'll be getting in? I mean, granted, the Rangers are a very young team right now.
No, because anyone who's on the team, the oldest guy on the team, besides Hank, I think is Stahl. And Stahl doesn't have the pedigree or the trophies or anything. I could see maybe like the Rangers doing something, but like I don't even think so. I think he just goes home and says, "Damn, my brothers all have fucking trophies and I don't."
He has silly putty for ankles because of all his shot blocks.
Yeah. I think, you know what though? I think that he's easily the second best of them, and I think that even though he didn't win one, it doesn't matter. Because he got to live in New York and not fucking Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if when it's all said and done, by the time he wraps up his career, like I think Panarin, if he gets a couple of trophies, will make a strong case. It's just like his career started so late. He like came over when he was 26, but again, the Rangers are kind of a very young team at this point.
I think that's a big deal because, like, he just instead of like having years where like he was okay, he just came out and is just a fucking animal.
Yeah, I think if he puts together like a couple of Art Ross trophies, like he'll make a very strong case. Um, Ottawa, not really. Again, a very young team, a rebuilding team. Um, don't really see anybody on the list that I would say is like a bona fide Hall of Famer. I think give them enough time, Brady Tkachuk and Thomas Chabot can put together Hall of Fame careers. But as it stands now, it's like, oh, it's the Ottawa Senators. Like, great.
Great, super excited.
Uh, Philadelphia. Do you think
It's
Claude Giroux's a Hall of Famer?
probably guys. The issue is like guys who make their careers for so long in one place are so hard to say whether they've had a Hall of Fame career or not. Because it's like, did they have a Hall of Fame career, or did they just have a get in their retired number career?
Yeah, I mean, Giroux, he still has some years left. He's 32, so he has a couple of years at his peak, but he has no trophies to his name. 815 points in 889 games. That's a solid number. 380 penalty minutes, so, you know, he'll be known as like more of a rough and tumble type character, but I think if you're going to make a case for anybody, it's got to be him, but I don't know. He's a borderline for me. He's a borderline. I don't feel very good
Well,
saying, like...
You could maybe say JVR.
James Van Riemsdyk. I mean, he's 31, 481 points in 741 games.
You
Again,
could
like...
make the argument for Voracek.
I feel like the Flyers are all, as a group, good players without a... Well, that's not fair, because Claude Giroux is a great player.
I think Voracek's a great player, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 695 points in 915 games. No individual awards. He's only cracked 30 goals never, actually. Which I find that hard to believe, but apparently that's the case. Yeah. I think if you're gonna make an argument for everyone, it's gonna be Claude Giroux.
It's probably Giroux. I think we're on the same page, actually.
Yeah.
I would like after you saying the numbers, it makes a lot more.
I didn't know that Voracek never had a 30-goal season. I'm actually shocked.
Don't know why.
Pittsburgh. So obviously 87's going to the Hall of Fame. There's no question there. What about 71?
Yeah, undoubtedly first ballot.
What about 58?
It's not 58.
Chris
What
Letang.
makes you think? What makes you think I know anyone's numbers?
Chris Letang.
Bro, I barely. All right, yeah. Yeah, he probably makes it first ballot also.
537 points, 808 career games.
5 Canadiens.
3-time Stanley Cup champion. No Norris trophies.
You know which ones?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I think he had kind of like the Drew Doughty syndrome where it's like, can you really name another defenseman that those Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins had? You know, obviously excluding 2008, 2009, they had a good team, but like, it was kind of the Chris Letang on defense show. To have 537 points, probably going to end his career with over 600. He'll probably get in.
If not first, second ballot without a doubt.
What about Patrick Marleau? 1,188 points in 1,723 games.
Isn't he one of the 3 players to play through 3 decades or whatever, 4 decades?
He played through 3 decades because he came into the league in '98, so he played through the
Yeah,
technically at
him,
the end of
Chara,
the
and
'90s.
someone else, right? Played 3 decades. I think he's a Thornton.
Probably Jumbo Joe, yeah.
Yeah, it's Joe, Marlowe, and Chara.
I think Marlowe will get in just because of the length of his career.
Yeah. He's going to break what's-his-name's record, I thought. Didn't we talk about this?
Yeah, that he was getting close to being the most all-time games played.
Yeah, one more. If he plays one more season, he gets it, essentially. I think.
Yeah, he'll probably get in just because of the length of his career. And that's not to say he's not a great player, but, like, that's the thing that'll get him in. Not, like, necessarily what he did on the ice, but just the fact that, like, he did what he did on the ice, plus that he was in the league for so long. Speaking of Jumbo Joe, what about the Sharks? So, Jumbo Joe, is he going to the Hall of Fame?
The Sharks next on the list, or are you skipping around?
No, they're next. It's San Jose, then St. Louis for the 2 S teams.
LMNOP.
LMNOP QRS. I don't know.
OP.
We did Ottawa.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did. We've said that there's like nothing to talk about besides Brady Tkachuk and Thomas Chabot.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You know what it was? Honestly, my dad came in. He was talking to me. So you were talking, I kind of drifted off.
So Joe Thornton. Yes or no?
I don't know. Hey, Dad, do you think Joe Thornton makes the Hall of Fame? Yeah? Why?
Length of his leadership. So much.
He said the length and the leadership is the big thing.
He has 1,509 points in 1,636 games played. Has a Art Ross and a Hart Memorial Trophy to his name in the same year, 2005, 2006, when he put up. Where is it? 2005, 2006. That can't be right.
Never went up.
Oh, this is the year he got traded. Duh. When he put up, what is this? 92 plus 33 is 125 points. That's absurd. Holy crap. That is ridiculous.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a hard career for Joe. Like, he really could have left San Jose at any point during his prime and probably won a Stanley Cup, but I think, again, this is a Patrick Marleau situation. The length of his career is going to be what puts him over the edge, plus the fact that he has that Art Ross and that Hart Memorial Trophy to his name. Imagine trading away at a Hart Memorial winner. LOL at Boston Bruins. But, I mean, they won a cup and Joe didn't, so, like, who's laughing now? What about Erik Carlsson? Two-time.
He's done multiple teams.
I think Erik Carlsson makes it just because he revolutionized defense.
Two-time James Norris Trophy winner, both with the Ottawa Senators. 603 points in 736 games played. It's tough because, like, again, he was never really known as a great defender. He's in minus 45 for his career. But, again, he played for the Ottawa Senators, so that doesn't really mean a whole lot.
If he doesn't make it first ballot, he makes it second ballot.
I was going to say, I don't really think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's probably a second or third ballot Hall of Famer.
I could see him snuffing someone like, he could easily snuff like a Phil Kessel.
Yeah.
Off the list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he gets in on the first unless he retires in a good year, but he'll be in like second or third just because he was like the premier offensive defenseman in the league for a long time before Matt Cook cut his tendon, because Matt Cook is a piece of crap, but you know. St. Louis. St. Louis is a weird team because they don't really have
a
like,
lot of guys had like late careers.
I feel like if Ryan O'Reilly can put together another season or two where he's maybe not winning the Frank J. Selke and like maybe not winning a Conn Smythe, but like another year or two where he's like finishing second or third in Selke voting, he keeps his face-off percentage up there. He's at 55.5 right now. I think if he can put together another couple of years, he'll get in because he's one of the best two-way forwards of the game right now. But like to your credit, like he kind of had a late career renaissance to an extent, so he's tough. I mean, Tarasenko's kind of the same deal where it's like he got 428 points in 507 games played. I mean, he's only 28, so he's still got time. Yeah.
I like Pietrangelo a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're gonna make a case for anybody, he's probably number one on the list. 450 points in 758 games played. Won the Stanley Cup this year, captained them to the Stanley Cup win. Plus 77 for his career. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're going to make a case for anyone, it's got to be either O'Reilly or Pietrangelo, but I'd probably put I'd probably put Pietrangelo first, right? Again, same kind of deal. I'm going to say second or third ballot for him. No.
And I think it's fair to say that if Binnington goes on to have a successful career here on out, he easily makes it.
Oh yeah, if he wins, like
he literally needs to have like just another few good years, and he makes it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially just because like that story will follow him for the rest of his career.
That's what I'm saying. So like, he'll make it almost like no matter what. If he didn't make it first ballot, it would be because he was up against someone like Hank, or like fucking Fleury would make it above him.
Okay. Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh.
You think Steven Stamkos is a Hall of Famer?
I think he's a lame Hall of Famer.
A lame Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Why?
Because when he was Steven the motherfucking Stamkos, they weren't winning cups. It wasn't until like he took like the number 2 and 3 role that they started winning cups.
Well, they haven't won any cups, but I know what you're saying. It's hard for him because he's had a couple of seasons where he was hurt, but I feel like he also kind of gets overshadowed now by the rest of the team. Like, he's still a solid player. Like, he had a bit of a bad year in 2017-18. I say bad year, he had 86 points.
He can make it on, like, a third ballot.
Like, he scored 45 goals last year, and nobody was talking about him because there were guys like Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov were just going off. He had 98 points last year, and nobody cared.
And Tyler Johnson was doing really well last year, too.
Yeah, like, almost 100 points, and, like, nobody cared. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, he's two-time Maurice Richard Trophy winner. The last 60-goal scorer in the NHL was him in 2012. I think he's like a second or third ballot Hall of Famer, unless the Lightning win a cup and he's still the captain. And he gets like if the Lightning win a cup and he's still the captain, that makes his argument stronger. But especially if he gets like a Conn Smythe, like he'll walk into the Hall of Fame for sure. Like, if Alex Ovechkin didn't exist...
If he even makes a good playoff run, I think he walks in. If he does, like, a really great job in the playoffs or something, or, like, he's just really important to the team and in a run to the finals, not necessarily... They don't have to win, but, like, even just make it into the finals, I think he'd be good enough. Because, like... I'm trying to think of an example. Like just think of like a guy who like Zach Parise on the Devils. Like they didn't win, but he was the Devils, and you remember that.
Right. Where like Steven Stamkos for a long time was
the Lightning. But now he's not really the Lightning anymore. He's just one of the guys on the Lightning.
He's one of the boys. One of the boys. Yeah. I kind of agree. I think he'll be second or third ballot Hall of Fame. And like obviously there are guys like Nikita Kucherov who are still building their careers, like Braden Point, Andrei Vasilevsky.
Like he makes it in, but it's just like he's not doing it quickly.
What about Viktor Headman?
Funny you say that because he was my first thought. Fuck,
Oh,
I got my phone.
jeez, that was loud.
My phone hit the radiator. I apologize.
I mean, he's got a James Norris Trophy to his name. He's got 473 points in 762 games played. He's a plus 116 over his career. And you have to remember, like, he was playing on the Lightning when they were kind of just okay.
He was, like I said, he was when I was going to say Headman when you said the Lightning. But then you said Stamkos, and I was like, huh, okay, yeah. Forgot about him.
Yeah, I think Viktor Hedman is a solid option. I think if he, again, I think his Hall of Fame kind of depends on, like, if he puts together another couple seasons where he's, like, a solid two-way defenseman, he's only 29. If he gets another James Norris in there, like, yeah, get him in there. Like, he's...
Also, can't forget, shout out to the fucking, Rangers management for, putting together the New York Rangers South.
Oh, you mean Ryan McDonough and Kevin Shattenkirk, and for a while there was JT Miller.
Yeah, and don't forget that Ryan Callahan was also on the team at one point. They had a lot. It was the whole fucking roster. Thank you, Rangers management, for making New York Rangers South. All right, yeah, continue.
Next. Next. The Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, obviously, like, a stacked team, but again, a lot of the guys are young. I don't really know if anybody on this team, if they retire right now, is a Hall of Famer. But again, they're still, like, super young is the thing. Like, you could easily say, like, obviously Austin Matthews has Hall of Fame pedigree. Mitch Marner can make the Hall of Fame pedigree.
Jake Muzzin is a multi-time Stanley Cup winner.
Yes, but if you ask anybody for a defenseman on the LA Kings, they're probably going to tell you Drew Doughty, and then they'll be like, I don't really remember anybody else.
I mean, that's just because they're stupid. Like, I'm just saying, like, I think... And doesn't Jason Spezza have a cup?
No.
No, he doesn't.
He has no individual awards, actually. I think Jason Spezza is going to get the Daniel Alfredson treatment, where everyone's going to look at his career and be like, yeah, he was great, but...
Yeah, okay.
Where's the cup?
Ignore my point about him. But, yeah, so Jake... I think it's... Jake Muzzin is... If you had to take someone right now, I think you pick him.
Well, Jake Muzzin actually wasn't on the team in 2012, believe it or not.
The Kings?
Yeah, he didn't play in 2011, 2012. He played in 2011 as a rookie for 11 games, but they didn't bring him up full time until 2012, 2013.
Okay. So, but he still has one.
I feel your point. Like, because a lot of these guys are still building their careers, if there's going to be an argument for anybody, it's probably him.
Like, he's still building his career, and he has a cup that he was a contributing factor for.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we can talk about, like, again, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, potentially, Frederick Anderson, potentially, Morgan Riley, potentially, but...
The thing is, if we end all their careers today, they were just really fucking good players.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, Austin Matthews probably only needs, like, another 3 or 4 years, but he still needs that 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, because the thing is, he doesn't have any individual awards, really, either, I don't think, does he?
Not really. I mean, he was close this year. He probably would have caught up, but he didn't get it this year.
As I'm saying, I don't think he has any scoring titles or anything. So
Ashton Matthews. So he won. No, he didn't. He didn't. Oh no, he did win the Calder. Yeah, 2016-17.
okay, so he called it whenever. Like, okay, not that that's not impressive, but
It's not enough.
yeah.
Vancouver. I don't really. Again, like, kind of a young team mixed with some talent in there, like older talent, like JT Miller is a little bit more of a veteran, Louis Eriksson, but nobody really jumps out on the page. I mean, obviously, like, again, guys like Quinn Hughes at some point probably will be building a Hall of Fame type career, but yeah, I mean, Brock Besser, but like a lot of them are still young. Horvat, Besser, Pedersen, Suter. Yeah. I feel like they're just too young, you know what I'm saying?
Does Beagle have the most accolades on the team,
Jay Beagle.
or is it Louis Eric? I think it's Louis Erickson.
Louis Eriksson has no awards at all. So
I,
it's
I thought that did it wasn't he on a cup winning team?
Nope. He played for Dallas from 2007 to 2013. He was on the Bruins for 3 years, from 14 to 16, and he's been on the Canucks ever since.
Damn, he barely missed every team being good.
Yeah, he missed the Stanley Cup for Boston by 3 seasons. And, like, he might have helped them win a Stanley Cup, but if he didn't leave, but yeah, no.
So I think Beagle has 1 cup.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's not even about that.
like I said, it's kind of the Toronto Maple Leafs situation where, like, these guys are still building a lot of their legacy, so it's hard to say. Like, I think Besser, Horvat, Quinn Hughes, Pedersen could be Hall of Famers, but it's like they're all under 26, so, like, how am I supposed to know?
I think Tyler Toffoli could do it. I think he could. I think if he goes somewhere, if he didn't really get to play in Vancouver very much this, but I think if he went there and he played his ass off and he played like an animal, and they maybe win a cup or two with him, and he's a contributing factor because he was on the Kings. So he already has. Did he get one with the Kings? I don't know if he was.
Yeah, he was there for 2013-14.
Okay. So I think that he's a good argument. I also think he's a great player. I said that they should. I said that I wish the Rangers would have went for him.
If there was an argument to be made for anybody, it's probably him because he's built most of his career. I mean, he's only 28, so he still has another, like, 7 years.
Exactly. And he's still so talented.
I could see it. He'll need to. Sorry. He'll need to step it up a little bit and, like, maybe hit 30 goals a couple times instead of just being like a 20-goal scorer, but I could see it happen. Vegas. Marc-Andre Fleury. Is he going to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, without a doubt. He's a first ballot instant winner.
Instant winner. Trying to look at other guys like. Maybe,
The issue is like no one on this team really has a career.
maybe Max Pacioretty's 31, but like
Okay, Pacioretty, yeah.
doesn't really have
Pacioretty's
any.
probably the.
If you're gonna pick anybody out of this team, it's probably Max Pacioretty at this point, or Mark Stone. One of those two. Other than that, like, they're kind of just a team of good players, not great players.
And then if William Carlson continues to pop off, like if he can maybe put together, string a career from here on out, I could see him doing it. But I think his career's already like halfway done, maybe.
Yeah, he's 27, so if he has another like good 8 years, he could get it done. But he's gonna really need to go hard.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was so old.
Old as hell. Second to last team, the Washington Capitals. I mean, obviously Ovechkin's going to the Hall of Fame. But do you think Nick Backstrom goes to the Hall of Fame with him?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think Backstrom's a first balloter?
Depending on who he retires with, yeah.
What about Ilya Kovalchuk?
You know what's funny? Kovalchuk easily would have been a Hall of Famer. Easily.
If you didn't waste like 7 years in a K show, yeah, probably. I think besides those two, I mean, you can make a case for John Carlsen. He's only
John Carlson
30.
down the line. TJ Oshie is really just a popular name. He could do it just based off of popularity.
I think Braden Holtby can get in on the money goaltender ticket.
Yeah.
He has a Vezina trophy to his name, a William M. Jennings trophy, and a Stanley Cup. I think he could get in on the money goaltender ticket. Like, because like if we look at some of the guys that were in, like Billy Smith was absolutely completely mediocre in the regular season, but money goaltenders, they win you cups. I think if like Holtby gets another deep cup run, I don't even think he has to win another cup. I think if he gets another deep cup run, he'll probably get in. Yeah.
Like I said, I think Oshie could do it.
TJ Sochi.
I think he could. He's a very popular pick. He could maybe do it.
I could see it. He's only, well, I say only. He's 33, so like if he winds his career down, he stays at like 0.8 point per game. I could see him getting in because he's always been that like reliable role player type guy. And last but certainly not least, the Winnipeg Jets.
Now this is an interesting one because this is kind of like the Toronto.
Whether like they're still building a lot of their careers.
Yeah. Or like if if they've had a career for a while, they're only just popping off recently.
I think if you're gonna make an argument for anybody on this team right now, it's probably Blake Wheeler.
Yeah.
761 points, 931 games played, plus 100, 609 PIMs. A reliable leader for a long time in the NHL. 91 back-to-back 90-point seasons with the Jets. The rest of the roster, like you said, they're still kind of building it up. Like, Sami Niku can maybe be a Hall of Famer at some point in his career. I think Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Ehlers, and Laine all have that ability. But again, like, Scheifele, I think, is the oldest one out of them. He's only 27. Like...
And they haven't played for a good team consistently for a long time.
Yeah, because like they should have won that one cup. Like they should have won the cup a couple years ago, I think, but they kind of blew it. I think Hellebuck, if you give his career enough time, can do it. He's only 27. But again, it's kind of the same situation where it's like there's a lot of these guys are still building that legacy. So, yeah, they're questionable. Do you have anything else you wanted to bring up before we start to wrap up?
No, not really. I think that's about it. I think Steve goes into the biggest pussy Hall of Fame. And, yeah.
Not going to debate you on that one. Yeah, so that's kind of like our thoughts. I mean, there are some guys that, like, obviously we could do whole podcasts on some of these guys. Like, we could do a whole podcast on whether or not Joe Thornton should be in the Hall of Fame, but that's going to wrap it up for this time. As far as what we do next time, I mean, camps are starting to open up, so we might talk about some of the camps that are going on, maybe some stuff with the return to play situation. We've been kind of holding off on doing anything with return to play because it's been so fluid and it's been in flux for the longest time. And it's been like we don't know what's happening any given day, but maybe we'll start talking about some of the team's camps, some of the guys that have been signing with the new signing with the new openings. So we'll see. We'll have to make a call and audible on what we end up doing next time. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again next time.